They climb for the view, pose for the angle, and chase the shot they think will go viral. But for some influencers and young people, the price of the perfect selfie isn't a like, it's their life. In a culture obsessed with image, the line between attention-seeking and tragedy has never been thinner, and for some, that line disappears completely. Today we're looking at some of the more notable selfie deaths in recent years, the moments where chasing the perfect shot went horribly wrong, and I have a very special guest joining me later in the video. Hong Kong's Pineapple Mountain is known for its golden sunsets, rugged trails, and steep cliffs overlooking the quiet pools below. With around 25,000 followers, the 32-year-old social media influencer and Instagram model, Sophia Chung, was known for her bikini-clad self-portraits in scenic yet sometimes risky spots. With an Instagram bio that read, "Life should be fun, not dumb," the universe had a cruel dose of irony installed for her when, on the 9th of July 2021, she posted a picture on Instagram with a caption that read, "Better days are coming." Tragically though, just a day later, she and 3 of her friends visited Pineapple Mountain. While maneuvering into position to take a selfie overlooking a waterfall, according to The Independent, she slipped and fell around 16 feet into the rock pool below. She was taken to hospital, but sadly died from her injuries. In August 2024, Czech gymnast Natalie Shakova was on a mountain edge jockeying to get herself into position for an Instagram photo with the famous Neuschwanstein Castle behind her. Neuschwanstein Castle, the inspiration behind Walt Disney's Sleeping Beauty Castle, is one of Germany's most iconic and scenic backdrops. According to the Daily Mail, Natalie's friends said she was standing very close to the edge for a photo when she slipped off and plunged 260 feet down the mountain. Although the 23-year-old professional gymnast survived the initial fall, she was airlifted to hospital where she died from her injuries 6 days later. Now, it might seem like the ladies are prepared to take the biggest risk for a selfie, but as I've mentioned before, one study I read found men outnumbered women almost 2 to 1. That was certainly true when, on Monday the 24th of January 2022, 21-year-old hiker Richard Jacobson lost his life trying to take a photo in the Superstition Mountains near Phoenix, Arizona. While attempting a picture of himself with Phoenix in the backdrop, he lost his footing and fell a whopping 699 feet to his death. Now, those of you familiar with the channel might remember that back in 2024, I had a special guest on episode 3 of the Darwin Awards. I'm pleased to say he's agreed to return today, and he'll be telling you about these next few stories. That would be none other than my friend at Disasterthon True Horror.
When 2 sisters and their friend decided to stop for a quick selfie by a railroad track in Utah, they had no idea of the fatal mistake they were about to make. It was a cheerful afternoon in October 2011 at Covered Bridge Canyon in Utah's Spanish Fork Canyon. The 3 girls were 15-year-olds Essa Ricker and Kelsey Webster, and Kelsey's 13-year-old sister, Savannah. While standing next to the railway track, a westbound train rolled past them. They waved to the crew and the crew waved back. As the train rolled by, Savannah, the youngest of the 3, made what would turn out to be her fatal and fateful post to social media. On Facebook she wrote, "Standing right by a train. This is awesome." As the westbound train continued to roll past them, the girls decided to pose for a selfie with the train in the backdrop. Unfortunately though, on this section of the line, there was not just 1 but 2 tracks, and the girls were standing over one of them. As the girls posed for what is now a famous selfie, a second train approached from the opposite direction on the adjacent track on which they stood. Oblivious to the danger, the picture was snapped with the headlights of the oncoming train chillingly visible in the corner of the image. Inside the locomotive of the oncoming train was conductor John Anderson and engineer Michael Anderson. No relation. Ahead, they saw the teens posing across the track and sounded the horn and hit the emergency brake. However, the girls never moved, and they most likely never heard it coming amid the noise of the first train. They were in their own little world, the conductor recalled later. "We watched in horror as we got closer. We saw them for about 12 seconds until they disappeared from our sight and the train continued moving forward. Essa and Kelsey were killed instantly, while Savannah survived the initial impact but was in serious condition. She was rushed to Primary's Children's Medical Centre and underwent emergency surgery. She had suffered more than a dozen broken bones, internal bleeding, blood clots, and a severe brain injury. She sadly died 3 days later when her family decided to withdraw life support. While some deaths that result from a selfie are a case of innocent, misguided fun, others, like these next two, require a touch of alcohol and questionable judgment. On the 10th of January 2020, 21-year-old model Madeline Davis attended a house party in Sydney, Australia. Throughout the night, her and her friends had gotten drunk and, according to the reports, had taken an illicit substance too. In the early hours of the next morning, Madeline and around 7 others went to Diamond Bay Reserve, a popular attraction known for its dramatic cliff tops and views of the ocean and the Sydney skyline. It was also a selfie hotspot, and in the previous 12 months, at least one person had already died taking a selfie there. At around 6 AM, still intoxicated, Madeline climbed the fence to take a selfie on the cliff edge. However, according to the Daily Mail, she slipped and fell 100 feet to her death whilst doing so. Her body was found later that day. Home to more than 1.4 billion people, India has one of the highest death rates whilst attempting a selfie, and this next story was a rather crazy example. Prabhu Bhattara, a taxi driver in the eastern province of Orissa, was transporting a party of wedding guests on a May afternoon in 2018. At some point along the drive, he spotted what appeared to be an injured sloth bear in a clearing a few yards off the road. The sloth bear, not to be confused with a sloth, although it also chooses to flee rather than fight, is immensely strong. In fact, strong enough to fight off a tiger. While many of us might have called authorities to report an injured animal, Mr. Bhattara saw an opportunity for the perfect selfie. After stopping his taxi and ignoring the advice not to, he exited the car and approached the bear. However, the injured animal wasn't in a photogenic mood, and, too injured to flee, it chose to fight. The ordeal was caught in a series of blurry snaps by disapproving passengers, and even with the help of a stray dog who joined the fight on the human side, the injured bear emerged victorious, and the man lost his life. Although getting tranquilized to remove the man's body, the bear received veterinarian care and recovered from its injuries, and the dog was reported to be unharmed.
Now, continuing the theme of poor decision-making around wild animals, there's this next story. It goes without saying that you probably shouldn't put your head near large animals like lions or tigers to snap a selfie. But if it weren't evident enough, you can put walruses on the list. An adult walrus weighs up to 3,000 pounds, grows tusks up to 40 inches in length, and its teeth can tear through blubber. Getting up close for a selfie would be an extraordinarily bad idea. However, back in 2016, Chinese businessman Jia Li Jin did just that when he visited the Yashanko Wildlife Zoo in Liaoning Province, China, and attempted to snap a selfie with a 1.5-ton walrus who lived at the park for over a decade. Although he did manage to snap a successful selfie with the walrus, it was when he turned his back on it that it grabbed him and dragged him into the water. An eyewitness told CNET his back was to the walrus, and he took a selfie and the walrus came from behind and pulled him into the pool to play. Tragically, this wasn't where it ended. An experienced zookeeper attempted to distract the walrus with a bamboo stick. When that failed, having raised the walrus since it was young, believed he could jump into the pool to help. Unfortunately, he was attacked too, and both men died. Interestingly, in the wake of the tragedy, the park came under fire for the lack of adequate barriers between the animals and the public, and ultimately had to pay the equivalent of $137,000 as compensation to the men's families. That's all for today's video. A special thanks to today's guest, Disasterthon True Horror. If you haven't already, check out his channel, there's a link in the description. If you found value in today's video, I'd love it if you subscribed and joined me for the next one. And as always, thanks for watching.